Alright, so I'm not going to sugarcoat this video and give you the standard talking points, and frankly, it's going to be really hard to make an introduction to this video, especially with these stupid glasses with the sunlight. I'm making this video because TikTok at any moment could be banned in the US. This video is a full guide on how you can leave TikTok and or nonetheless shorts content in general. No matter how much you want to cope, no matter how much you want to say, no, it's good, it's going to get banned and you're going to panic. All right. No, most people are not prepared for this. This is my warning to you. If you do not delete this app at any point when you're watching this video, even if you just leave the video now, if you do not delete the app, it will get banned at some point in your country. I guarantee it. And you're going to hate it. You're going to panic. You're going to freak out. Chaos is going to ensue. You're going to feel as if you were just struck by a truck. It's not going to be good. I totally understand that this is an incredibly long video, so watch it in segments if you must. I have timestamps in the description because, God forbid, I'm going to be recording for so many hours. If you don't know already, I'm Hunter, I am a cybersecurity major, and today in my crosshairs, we have TikTok in this special edition of the Guide to Internet Freedom. Recently, as of the starting of the research of this video, the CEO of TikTok has stepped down from her position, and a ban on the US seems to just be on the horizon, especially with the state of Montana banning TikTok only just a month ago. And it seems that pandemonium is going to strike across the country, with legislation getting closer and closer to getting these sort of bills that will ban TikTok. And whether or not you agree with the bills, I certainly don't to an extent, it's going to happen and it's going to hit you like a truck. Because of this, many of you had the urge to click off. I totally understand it, to go do whatever mundane thing you want to do on the internet. But my warning is, now that you've seen this video, the truth is going to catch up to you, and you're going to feel really bad real quick when you come back to TikTok. This app has destroyed the minds of so many people that it's going to be a hard fight for your fellow man. 2/3 of the entire population, and the global population, granted, the ones that use the internet, you have a 2 in 3 chance that you will meet someone that uses TikTok. If that person is a young person, let's say somewhere 13 to 18, they're most likely a TikTok user. Can you name a person that you know in your life that doesn't use TikTok? I'll wait. Well, I know a few people personally, but it's mostly a very, very small minority out of them, and the only reason they didn't get it was because of privacy concerns, which at this point everyone knows. I'm risking a lot of relationships with this video. I really am. I really am, because I'm going to be really harsh. I'm going to be really critical. But my goal here is to be sympathetic at the same time. With all that being out of the way, I only care about the truth. And if my inauthentic friends, if any inauthentic friends, if they leave me, then well, so be it. I really couldn't care less. This is my second video on the internet. Frankly, I'd rather just get my unfiltered self out here. You've probably seen plenty of videos exploring the horrors of TikTok, and they're all pretty great videos. I agree with pretty much most of them. A few of them here and there are a little bit kind of weird, but I pretty much agree with most of them, and I'm going to be explaining some of the points from those videos. So, if you've watched those videos, you might be pretty knowledgeable, but this video is sort of a whole recap of all these videos, plus a lot more that I think you'll be interested in. The thing about these videos is that most of them are not effective at removing the brainwashing, and some of them don't even provide a solution for leaving. You can explain all the scientific reasoning behind it, but let's be real, it hasn't stopped most people. The more you explain, the more likely they're going to stop, but there's still so many people that use the app. Even doctors use the app. A lot of times I see these videos, they sort of go over the points that most people don't really care about. And I will go over some of these points because I do believe they're still extremely important. But in the case that you just want a timestamp, or you want to skip around or whatever, I give you those in the description. Although for the best experience, you want to watch the whole video so you are armed with the knowledge. how does like a standard TikTok work, right? How does a standard TikTok session work? So you get into the cycle of brainwashing where your brain says you deserve to scroll for 4 hours, right? And you scroll, you're looking for that perfect video, and 4 hours pass, and it feels like 5 minutes. You're just scrolling like that, right? You look kind of stupid. Like if you looked at yourself doing it, you look stupid. Like you look genuinely like you are a robot. You seem less real than the AI that's out there these days. And what happens when you start regretting? Your dopamine drops, and the next day your brain is just like, I need dopamine, I need it. And what's the best way to get it? Well, TikTok, of course. And because of the beliefs you have about yourself, you know that's addicted, and you just can't get on with it. You can't stop, you know. You won't be able to stop after the last one, and you keep committing and committing, and the more you commit to the cycle, the more you internalize these beliefs about yourself. And the harder it will be to actually free yourself from this addiction. Really, the truth about TikTok is that as much as we want to make fun of its users, and I will slightly jest at them a little bit, most of them are not weak-willed or even physically incapable people. Most of these people very much have the capability to leave TikTok at any time. Again, a 2 in 3 chance that you are one of its users. That is and I'm kind of counting this from the 2.6 billion users of TikTok, and then the 4.1 billion active users of social media and the internet as a whole. You know, it could be a little different with all the bans that have gone on, but point is, a lot of people use it. So it's not like all of them are suddenly weak-willed people. Some of them, I'm sure, do a lot of hard work. Some of them they want to be doctor, engineers, or the young lads trying to make it in the world. I hope that by the end of this video, because with TikTok getting banned in the USA, and you know all the shame and hatred that just for yourself that just comes with these addictions, I hope you understand why you must delete TikTok. You know, if there's one social media that is the culmination of every single problem with the society, it is TikTok. Now, with that being said, like I mentioned, some of these bills I don't agree with. You know, something like the Restrict Act, for example, is like going way too far, and frankly, I don't even think it's effective against TikTok, but we'll talk about that. And, you know, so for anyone who's out there thinking I'm going to defend these people, these politicians, I have literally no reason to do so. You know, it's just gonna make the internet a worse place than it already is. So, before we get into TikTok and how everything works, let's just kind of get into the history of what happened. Currently, as of right now, as I'm recording this video, TikTok has over $150 million in the United States and over 2.6 billion worldwide downloads, and it has been one of the most meteoric rises to fame, one of the most meteoric rises of any social media or even like any startup in general. You know, this has literally trumped Facebook's growth, Instagram's growth, Snapchat's growth. It's trumped literally all of them, and it's absolutely insane how popular it's gotten in such in only 5 years. 5 years, crazy. But who created TikTok? Well, TikTok was created by a Chinese company called ByteDance, which is known for their popular mobile editing software, CapCut. ByteDance is a social media company with direct ties to the CCP, which is the Chinese Communist Party, which is basically the ruling party of the Chinese government as a whole. And in their terms of service, which, let's be real, nobody reads, because who's going to read a dumb terms of service? It's all legal mumbo jumbo, you know. Ask a lawyer about it. I'm sure, you know, if you ask a lawyer about it, you know, they'll read about it, but nobody's going to read it. But in this terms of service, they are legally mandated by the government, the Chinese government, to take user data. Your data is literally being taken by the Chinese government. You know, pretty obvious, right? Pretty obvious. It's honestly no secret. TikTok is owned by ByteDance, a Chinese company. You know, you might have seen it in the Senate interviews, which we'll talk about. But this is kind of similar to how FBI here in States asks companies to allow backdoor access to user data. You know, Facebook, Instagram, Google, all these companies do this. It's, you know, and So why is it bad? Well, these companies do it in the US. Why is it bad in China? Well, for one thing, this data is used to personalize content from either the algorithm itself or for third-party advertisers. And it allows these parties to have total control over your behavior to a point where they will know you before you know them. This has been a thing for a while. It's pretty obvious that Facebook knows a lot more than, you yourself. It knows you a lot more than yourself. Thank the incredibly advanced algorithms that these companies have made and have developed over the long course of over a decade. And as AI technology gets better and better, the data harvesting is, frankly, it's just going to get worse. It's not getting any better, and for now, it might just be personalized adverts that really annoy you, like these stupid scam adverts you see on like YouTube, where they're like, "Oh, get this here, or get these benefits," or whatever bullcrap is on there these days. I use an ad blocker, thank God, but it might just be advertisements, but and you could avoid it with some common sense. It's pretty easy to get an ad blocker. On mobile it's a little harder, but on a desktop it's pretty easy. But tomorrow it might be a social credit system, and that has actually been something that has been implemented in a few Chinese areas, like literal surveillance, and we'll talk about that. And some similar is actually starting to develop in America, and you might even compare a few things that go on in American companies that basically force these companies to do whatever these investors say. So it's not a wild concept. It's something that's been around for actually quite a while, a lot more than you think. But that's really spicy, and I don't want to get into that. So with all that being said, let me explain the origins of TikTok. So before TikTok, there was Musical.ly, or musical.ly. Musical.ly was a platform released in August of 2014, and it was a simple app where you could create short lip-sync videos to your favorite songs. Pretty harmless, right? You're just going like making faces. You're looking all sexy. Oh yeah, I really like this song. It's just cringe, right? It's just cringe on the internet. It's not a big deal. Well, the app over the next few years would amass over $200 million before the purchase of ByteDance, and it would consist of a mostly teenage audience. It was kind of wild. It was kind of a stupid concept, and it actually, a lot of YouTubers were like roasting these. Some of these people got famous off of Musical.ly, and there's some YouTubers that were roasting these people that also got extremely famous off of this. Just a wild app. It was quite crazy at the time. Well, on November 9th, 2017, Musical.ly was bought out by ByteDance for $1 billion. And that was the same amount of money that Facebook bought out Instagram for. And eventually, Musical.ly would merge into their new app, TikTok, just about a year later, which is the app we all know and love and hate and get addicted to a year later. The app was a instant hit. Celebrities like Jimmy Fallon, Tony Hawk, Jennifer Lopez, Will Smith, Rip Bozo, Justin Bieber, and just so many more endorsing and joining the app. And it was the first among free application downloads in countries such as Thailand. So it was a pretty big hit, and you can only imagine it was only going to get bigger. Well, only a year after its release, the literal National Football League, or the NFL, and TikTok would agree to a multi-year partnership. And considering how massive the NFL is, like the literal National Football League that is made some of the most watched broadcasts in all of American history. I mean, who doesn't know what the Super Bowl is, right? That's what the NFL has made. And considering this was before the 100th kickoff, this is an insane deal. Just who does that? Like NFL partnering with a big social media company that only started a year ago. They only released in America a year ago before this even happened. At the same time, this brought so many marketing opportunities, such as sponsored videos and hashtag challenges, and it just made the app explode in America a lot more than it already had. Well, in July 2020, the global version of TikTok, which is the one we all know, unless you're in China or something, it would reach 80 million active users, which meant that it was the fastest growing app ever. I can't name an app that was faster growing than TikTok. If you can name one, great. On the top of your head, great. I really do not care. But during this time, there was a lot of security concerns regarding the app, even compared to other social media apps, and it even reached the president of the United States at the time, Donald Trump. But we're going to talk about that later. That's a whole big thing. If you're wondering why this section's kind of short, well, it's because there's not a lot of history. It's only been made 5 years ago, and it's a China-based platform. There's only so much that I could really document in this whole video. So, in terms of growth, it just went from whoop, it grew instantly, right? But I will say this. It is estimated by a bunch of experts that it will make $14 billion just in this year alone, 2023. $14 billion, which that's up from nearly $10 billion last year. And with companies like Amazon, Pepsi, Apple, just to name a few, some of the biggest companies in the world, just all deciding, we're gonna advertise on TikTok. And that's saying a lot, because not even, for some cases, some of these advertisers aren't even on YouTube, which is the biggest social media platform probably ever, which is saying a lot. Let's get into what I would call mass demoralization. Well, why is it that you see all of these creators that have recently, you might have seen it on YouTube recommended, I have personally, I try not to use YouTube recommended, but God forbid, I'm guilty of it too, but you see all these creators who've recently been talking about TikTok and how it's, you're becoming distracted and it's a real problem, but in the description, you see their TikTok profiles. And then you look at their channel, you look at their backlog and their recent content, and even content after the video, and it's just reacting to TikToks. Maybe in that video, they were reacting to TikToks. It's all TikTok related. And, it's just, and it's not like it's super important. It's usually just trivial and pointless junk. That's all it really is. Even if there is something you find useful on TikTok, you're just better finding in long form context, because even if that's all you're looking at, you're still likely addicted and are going to go on for much longer than you do. A lot of people think that they're not weak-willed or they're not this or not that, but understand that a lot of people, when you go on TikTok, let's be real, you're not just scrolling for your favorite creators that give you some useful information. I'm sure and I'm not saying anything bad about these people, but you're scrolling a little bit longer than you need to. I don't mean to clown on these people or shame these people, because it's never in my life have I've seen an app that people know is bad. They know it's horrible. It's killing your attention span, right? But people just still use it so much because it's they feel defeated on the inside when it comes to their social media addiction. This doesn't just go for TikTok, it goes for everything else, but particularly TikTok is where I see it. It's your inner spirit, your spiritual self is just dead. You've been completely defeated. Well, what is a spirit? Why should I even care about spirit? I'm not a spiritual person. Well, the spirit, at least in a more contextual sense, scientific sense, it's kind of your conscious being. It is the being that will survive after your physical death. It's your identity, it's your beliefs, your memories, your personality. It might even be your legacy if you were a big person, if you created impact. It's not like when you die, you didn't just disappear. You didn't just physically die. No, you affected people when you died. If someone died, their parents might be sad, or their children might be sad, or whoever it is. Someone is they're gonna cry about it, and people make speeches about this all the time in funerals. Or even if nobody has a funeral, you go to A news article might talk about it. They might honor those, you might honor those people there. That is spirituality in a sense. But when you have this kind of total spiritual death, you leave behind nothing. When your spirit is destroyed, you leave behind nothing when you die. You leave a legacy that you're not proud of. Nobody is going to care. Nobody's going to care about you. If we apply this spiritual death to an individual, if you apply it to a country, right, it's going to leave no legacy. If America, like for example, if America dies, the West has fallen, guys. And if America just dies one day, like, I don't know, China, Russia, they decide to just nuke us and everyone's dead, right? What do we leave behind? Really, realistically, I guess, humans could look at material things and get some kind of semblance of, what they were looking at. But most people are probably just they'll only remember a few things. And, history repeats itself, and, new governments form, and new governments form based off old governments, and yada, yada, yada. It happens, right? The thing is that it's going to be the Dark Ages, too. It's going to be the Dark Ages. And the reason I even have this concept in the history chapter of this video is because it isn't just some kind of psychological concept that happens to manifest in weak people. No, it's a literal military tactic that has been used by many Chinese war strategists during their very long history, thousands of years of history, to weaken their enemy and start a new dynasty. So this literally starts new ages, which is absolutely crazy when you consider how this concept is not taught in schools. So the most famous phrase from the famous war strategist Sun Tzu said, "Subdue without fight." And the meaning of this phrase is to use non-violent, subversive tactics to defeat an enemy. And this is what China has against the West. This is China's greatest level. This is their greatest weapon. China, it doesn't need any military to defeat America. In fact, its military is very weak. Its infrastructure is very weak as well as compared to American infrastructure. That's why they invest so much into like technological advancement. It's why they invest in surveillance. It's why they invest in, spyware, hacking, and all this stuff, right? And it's why they invest so much into American companies. It's because they want to subvert those who are in the country indirectly without actually being those Chinese companies, right? Because it was obvious that, if it was a Chinese company that's like coming to spy on you, and you'd probably question a few things. But if it's a Chinese company investing in the app that you're using, well, you might not know that. And the thing is, if you post about it, and even if you do know about it and you post it on the site, then, well, boom, you get banned. Whether it's a foreign government or an abusive person that is trying to leverage control over you, the best weapon to use that you can fight against it is just simply know that it's happening. You now know that this kind of demoralization is happening. You know that if these tactics are what is used to strip the morale of someone, you know that it will leave someone defenseless, and it will leave someone feeling that as if they have nothing to fight for. And if someone has nothing to fight for, what's the reason for even living? I'm going to talk about this more as, we get into algorithms. But point is, as soon as you know that these tactics demoralize you, you can't be hurt. You literally cannot be hurt as soon as you know about all these tactics, right? The simplest way to get out of to not be fearful is to just know that you are being fear-mongered to. That's it. That's all it is. It's simple. I'm not saying it's easy, but I am saying that it's very simple. Stand your ground and don't let anyone step on you, because it's a lot harder to deal with your addictions when you're demoralized, your spirit's down, you have no morale, you have nothing, right? But as soon as you start setting boundaries with people, you're able to block the bad influences of life. And as soon as you reject these bad influences, you're free of bad influences. You are free from those people that are going to hurt you, and now you're going to find more people that are going to be there for you, not for just some social points. Demoralization kind of a basic thing explained. let's talk about the ban of TikTok in the U.S. in particular, but I'll talk about a few other countries at the start. But if you really don't care about this, just skip to the next time stamp in the description because it's gonna be a really long explanation, and frankly, it's gonna be really, really boring. So I don't want to bore you for too long. So just skip to the next video, next timestamp if you just do not care, okay? Because this is it's just a recap of all the news about TikTok being banned in the U.S. and as of July 1st, 2023. And so if you're watching this months later, it might be outdated, and I will update you on all that news in the description. So be sure to look at that. As many of you know, TikTok is extremely popular in countries like US and UK, right? NFL signed a deal. It's popular among all these content creators that are in these other countries with millions of subscribers. The majority of these countries, UK, Australia, just to name a few, have already gone ahead and banned the app on all government devices. And all of them cite the same reason, and that is cybersecurity concerns, privacy concerns, because if the Chinese could get into your literal government devices, that could reveal some compromising information. It doesn't, yeah, it's bad that your information is getting revealed, but if it's governments, that's really bad. Some countries have even gone as far as to, like India and Pakistan, have they just banned the app. Gone. No more app. No more app for you, And when India actually banned the app, it was a huge uproar, and Indians were not happy about it at all. But the app is still the app is not there. Nobody from India is really using the app. At least no Indians using that. I'm sure some people are using like a VPN or something, but most Indians they're not using the app unless they really, really want to and they're really technologically savvy, which so probably now that I think about it, it's a lot more than I thought it was. So maybe there's quite a few Indians using the app. I know a few. My interest is mostly on the U.S.'s war on TikTok because it's quite a fight. It's been happening for years. It has a lot of history, and there were so many obstacles when it comes to banning TikTok, and it's shown a lot more about the government than you think. To be clear, I do not endorse one or the other political party. I don't endorse the left. I don't endorse the right, like the Democrat and Republican parties. I do not endorse either officially, right? I just want to lay the facts as they are right now. As you're going to see, both sides, they definitely do know about the dangers of TikTok, but at the same time, they're not really doing anything productive. You got a few people here and there on both parties, but most of them aren't really doing anything. They're, a few bills are passing here and there, like, got the government bans and stuff like that, and all of this stuff has really soured my opinion on the government. And the thing is, the solution's so simple, and these simple solutions are brought up, and they're like, no, we don't want that. We don't want that. It's wild to me, if you ask me. But, anyways, it all started on August 6, 2020, when former President Donald Trump would sign an executive order to ban all TikTok transactions if it was not sold by ByteDance to a different company. And he actually signed a separate executive order that would do something similar with the Chinese app WeChat. And his reason for signing the order was he believed that ByteDance would take action that would directly threaten the national security of your average American. And with all this security stuff, it makes perfect logical sense. A Chinese company making a big social media app, and it has data collection. Just read its terms of use, and it's very open and clear, Now, but the thing is that at this time, because of COVID and all of this isolation and loneliness, nobody really had anything to do, and so support for banning TikTok was a lot lower than it will be in the next few years, and that's kind of hilarious considering that TikTok filed a lawsuit actually saying it was for political reasons. But I find it's funny because the majority of TikTok users are young people, and if Trump actually went ahead and banned the app, they probably would have been much more likely to vote for the Democrat candidate, who was Joe Biden. And since young voters tend to already vote Democrat, it's a very stupid argument. And in fact, it was one of the driving factors that actually led to Biden's win. So I don't know where this is coming from. This is very stupid. Like, wow, China taking action on China is going to boost support from his fan base, who overwhelmingly wants protectionist policy against China. Wow. Okay, just wow. Like, this has to be political interference, right? It has to be for political reasons. Like, no, most things are for political reasons. You know, the U.S. government banning TikTok as a whole on government devices is for political reasons. I find this such a bogus argument. This is one of the that was a stupid lawsuit. But the judge blocked it, and so it is what it is. So there was actually another suit that was going on, and that was being filed under the Fifth Amendment, which states that due process is required before any legal proceeding regarding taking the life, liberty, or property away, and it requires compensation for it. And they say Trump signed this because he's mad about some incident that happened regarding a rally that he was supposedly trolled on June 20th, and this troll was done by having TikTokers sign up for the rally but just not showing up. Which, okay, cool, you signed up for it. That doesn't really, I don't really see how that does anything, but okay, funny troll, I get it. But now it would be a lot more credible if these TikTok trolls did it to preceding rallies. They just kept going and going and going, just trolling every rally and just making them all empty and making them look really, really stupid. But considering that Trump is a populist and he has dozens and dozens of rallies that have like completely filled crowds that I would frankly break down if I was in, this simply just is a weak argument. It's just weak. It makes no sense. And I'm not saying this as like a fan of Trump or anything. I'm not saying that I am or not a fan of Trump. I'm just pointing out that these motivations are really hard to ascribe to the president without more evidence. I guess, yeah, the only credible lawsuit that it had was the Fifth Amendment, and considering that Trump wanted a company to buy TikTok like Microsoft, and Microsoft was considering doing it, Microsoft, they want to buy everything, right? Even this argument just becomes weak and pathetic. And now, I'm not a legal expert, but I can put two and two together and just see and look at TikTok's patterns and just say, yeah, this is a dishonest company. I do not trust them in any way, and frankly, I don't think you should either. But, even that means our politicians have literally no idea what they're talking about. That doesn't give you the excuse of, yeah, TikTok's in the right. No, just, it's all pile sludge, if you ask me. Now, while Trump was threatening TikTok, they would actually in talks with a major data company called Oracle, and they're talking about moving all of TikTok's data there. Now, don't worry, I have a lot to say about Oracle. There'll be a whole big old video about that. That's going to be a while, though. But I'll delve into it at some point because it's quite an obscure company compared to many other companies. Even more people probably know about Tencent than they do Oracle. It's actually insane. Fast forward, it's now Biden's presidency. It's June 2021, and Biden signed an executive order revoking Trump's original executive order that would ban TikTok and WeChat, and instead orders the Secretary of Commerce to investigate the app if it poses a threat to national security, which you could read the terms of service. I feel like it's obvious, but okay, give him the benefit of the doubt, right? But next year, reports would come out that ByteDance employees in China were in fact able to access user data in the US and have repeatedly accessed private information. And apparently, there was a Beijing-based engineer that has been dubbed the master admin who literally might have access to all of the data on TikTok. If you thought you were protected, you're not. They probably have your data if you were using TikTok or even touched the app at all. Now, and around the same time, FCC Commissioner Brandon Carr would call for TikTok to be removed on the Apple Store and Google Play Store due to national security concerns, saying TikTok, quote, harvest swarms harvest swaths of sensitive data that new reports show are being accessed in Beijing. Now, for anyone who's my non-American viewer, the FCC is the Federal Communications Commission, and they are a regulatory body that handles communication technology such as television, wire, radio, internet, pretty much everything. You might have heard him from the Jeep Pie. He was a big component of the SVC during Trump's presidency. Because of this call for action on the Google Play Store and Apple Store, TikTok panicked immediately, and because of those Oracle talks they were talking about, they announced that they would just move all their data and traffic to the Oracle cloud servers with intention to delete all of their US data from their data centers. So whether or not that is actually true, that they deleted their user data, I honestly don't know. I can't say that they have or haven't. It's really a mystery for all we know. So now it's December of 2022, and Senator Marco Rubio, along with House Representatives Mike Galper and Raja Krishnamurti, I believe, I apologize for mispronouncing your name, they would introduce a new bill to Congress. This bill was the Averting the National Threat of Internet Surveillance, Oppressive Censorship and Influence, and Algorithmic Learning by the Chinese Communist Party, or the Anti-Social CCP Act. That is a long name for such a simple bill. And seriously, you could read it yourself. I linked it in the description. But all you need to know about this bill is that it would prohibit all Chinese and Russian-owned social media from doing business in the U.S. So, no comments, no nothing. Just, you can't do business here. Bye-bye. No bueno. Pretty simple, right? Senator Josh Hawley, at the same time, introduced an even simpler bill called the No TikTok on Government Devices Act, which is the standard government device TikTok ban. And on December 15th, that bill was unanimously passed by the Senate. So that means everyone passed it. And the Chief Administrator Office of the U.S. House of Representatives would later ban the app on all federal devices just 12 days later, and President Biden would sign his approval of the bill 3 days after that. So, if you have a government device, you can't use TikTok. So, I guess sorry, government workers who really want to use TikTok. I don't know what to do for you. Now, just a month later, on January 5th, 2023, Hawley, again, would introduce another bill that would ban the platform nationwide. But sadly, it would be later blocked in the Senate by a forced vote on just 2 months later, March 29th, 2023. And Hawley is actually, if you don't know, he's been one of the key figures in fighting to ban the app, basically. He has been one of the main people that's been saying, look, this app is really bad for you. It's concerning our privacy. We really should not be using this app. There's so many problems with it. Now, as of April 2023, 34 out of the 50 states have banned or have announced TikTok on all state government devices, agencies. So that goes for state government agencies, employers, contractors from using TikTok on any of their devices. But citizens can still use the app in those states. If you're wondering what the most recent one as of recording this video, that would be the ban by Katie Hobbs in Arizona on April 5th. During March 2023, TikTok actually hired a lobbying group called SKDK, who has been a very well-known lobbying. They've lobbied for, I believe, the Clintons. They've lobbied for Obama. They're pretty huge lobbying, service, right? That same month, there would be a Congress hearing with a TikTok CEO. Now, to say the least, whew boy, this hearing was a complete disaster. It was so bad. It was memed to death by everyone. People made animations about it. People joked about it on TikTok because these politicians, they sounded really stupid. Most of them, it was complete brain rot. I was so, oh my God, it hurt my head just watching that. I'm not even going to link it in the description because of how much of a disaster it is. And frankly, I don't want you guys to see all that brain rot that it was. And I'm not even going to explain why a politician not knowing what Wi-Fi connections are. I'm not even going to explain why that's a concerning thing for the country. for its future. God, pray that these people know what Wi-Fi is in like 5 years. That would literally be a miracle at this point. Around this time, before the Senate hearings exactly, the Restrict Act and Data Act would be introduced, which are two very controversial bills in particular. Particularly the Restrict Act to be real. The Data Act, or HR 1153, was a bill introduced by Michael McCall that would essentially ban the selling of non-public personal data to third-party buyers such as marketing agencies. Basically, all the mumbo jumbo out of the way, this would force many American social media companies and tech giants to completely change their model of revenue. So they would have to make a lot of changes, whether it's good for the better or for the worse, especially a company like Meta, which would literally have to switch their ad model entirely, and they would just have to... They'd completely crumble if we're being real here. Now, I kind of personally agree with this bill because it would weaken the surveillance of American citizens, and it would destroy their addictive design. Some people may not agree with me on this, but frankly, I don't care. And I think this third-party advertising where they take your data, sell it to other people, and then it gets leaked, it's a security concern, and it would do a lot better for protecting people's data, even if you don't care about advertisements. Now we get into the more controversial Restrict Act, which was introduced by Senator Mark Warner. And this was what most people talk about, and this has been all over the internet. People still talk about it to this day. And, discussion has died down a little bit about it, especially considering it hasn't been passed yet, but nonetheless, I need to talk about it. Now, supposedly, this bill would give the Secretary of Commerce the authority to review business transactions made by IT services and product vendors and see if they were tied to any foreign adversaries that they considered a threat, and it had to have over 1 million users. Now, I don't need to explain why that would just be a massive violation of privacy rights, but not only that, this is just really hard to enforce. What happens if you investigate an encrypted messaging service like Signal and then accuse them of working for some foreign entity, all because they encrypt their stuff and the FBI can't access it? What? That's not a threat to, that wouldn't be a threat to national security, but they might frame it somehow as, maybe we're working with the Russians or something and they just decide to ban it. That's very possible. And in fact, other countries have already started considering banning Signal, which is frightening to say the least. There's actually very much a good reason to compare this to the controversial Patriot Act, which was signed after the tragedy of 9/11, because that had essentially increased the amount of surveillance done on American citizens for the supposed reason of protecting them for terrorism. Safe to say that both politicians on the left and right, including Rand Paul, Josh Hawley, and Jamal Bowman, are very much against this for different reasons. Now, it should be mentioned that nowhere in this bill does it say it'll actually ban TikTok. It's just going to have the Secretary of Commerce investigate to see if it's a foreign threat, which people know TikTok is. It's common sense now. And then now they'll pass a separate bill banning the app based on their investigation by the Secretary of Commerce. It's really stupid. It's a really stupid bill, and it's just a way for these governments to just violate our privacy. It's really stupid. Obviously, because of this, people see this ban on TikTok as hypocritical because the National Security Agency, also known as the NSA, has been known to use social media to spy on people. It's pretty obvious, right? And yeah, it's true. It's true to an extent. But we also need to keep in mind the difference between this and, China is a foreign government and a foreign adversary of ours. And like I mentioned previously, this data is being used for sinister reasons. And it goes beyond just our own government. If anything, it should wake people up to start realizing that maybe we should leave these apps and take precautions to protect our internet privacy. Now, protecting your privacy is really difficult, and it's a really long road ahead, but stuff like this, just deleting TikTok, is a really good start. Now, the most recent news about all of this is that State Governor Greg Gianforte, or Greg Gianforte, I'm really sorry if I mispronounced your name, but he signed a state House bill that would basically ban the app on January 2024. Now, as a result of this, many of the top TikTokers from Montana have signed a lawsuit that is still happening as of right now, and now that is where I end this section of the video. So if anything happens, I'll update in the description, but for now that you know about the historical context of TikTok, now we can move into why TikTok is so addicting. This is chapter 2 of the video, and this is going to be talking about how TikTok is designed for addiction. We'll talk about its design, to the algorithm, to some of the effects that it might have on the brain, to shorts content as a whole. So everything you consume on the app is specifically curated for your needs. That is because you say that you're going to scroll for 5 minutes, but you end up scrolling for 2 hours because, well, the app's designed for addiction. And it's perfectly crafted in this aspect of keeping someone addicted. So when you scroll on the For You page, you are basically scrolling for an unpredictable award of a really good video, right? You're just looking for a really good video, like a really entertaining, satisfying video, or just a really funny video, whatever it is. And so the reason you're getting dopamine all the time is that you're trying to find that one video. You just keep scrolling, you scroll. You see that one really nice video. And what makes TikTok different from all the other shorts content is that it's not just making you scroll for the best content all the time. It's not intentionally giving you the best content. A lot of times, it's just giving you really bad content, really amateur content, or just content you don't really care about, right? Well, rather, it's making it so the reason it's doing this is because it wants you to make you scroll and scroll and scroll and look for that perfect video that was, it was really funny. You really liked the joke in that video. It was such a really good meme, or it was a really funny post, or it was some wholesome post, whatever it is, just something to get your brain a little bit activated. Because of this, Instagram and YouTube took notes from this design choice, and so these platforms released their new features, which were Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts as a competitor to TikTok. Now, even if you decided not to get TikTok out of privacy concerns, which many have, including some of my family, you probably fell into the rabbit hole that is Instagram Reels or YouTube Shorts. More likely Instagram Reels because it's kind of hard on YouTube Shorts. But they do not have nearly as much content in the short form video format as compared to TikTok, which has reigned king of all the shorts content for quite a few years, and there's a few more reasons why it has stayed in this status as the king of all shorts content. So, as many of you know, China has actually implemented a social credit score to reward certain behaviors, and to enforce this, they have these little IDs that you can have on their devices, and there's many CCTV cameras that are used on the citizens to not only put them under constant surveillance, but they'll use facial recognition technology, and you could track the faces of those and see what their assigned credit score is. Now, if you had a low credit score, you would have restrictions on travel, you'd have plenty of restrictions. So it's best to keep it up. Otherwise, you're going to have a lot of issues just in your financial life that can lead you homeless. So it's not good. It's not a good thing. It's all to enforce some kind of supposedly good behavior, right? Well, what if I told you that I'm not that shocked when I found out that the TikTok algorithm actually uses facial recognition to boost certain creators. So using a combination of AI and facial recognition technology, they would map out the faces of those, and they would categorize them by race and gender. Now, after that is done, they would then rank the features of those who were mapped on a scale of 1 to 5, with 1 being ugly and 5 being extremely attractive. I'm definitely feeling like a 4 today. So, there was a study actually where they took 3 women who never posted on TikTok ever, and they would map their faces out before letting them post on TikTok. And the first woman was an Asian with a larger surface area around her cheeks and brow, which those tend to be more masculine features, and those tend to, they're more desirable by women than they are men. And this is just purely a biological thing. I'm not saying that, people aren't attracted. Usually opposites attract. But the second subject was a Hispanic with fair skin and a small face, which is a more, the smaller face is a more feminine thing, right? I'm Hispanic and I have fairly fair skin, right? So, subject C was a Caucasian with a bigger face and brown, which is a more feminine feature. These are, masculine feature, whatever. So, what they found was that subject B, which was the Hispanic woman, received the most amount of likes and views. Now, if you compare subject B's face to the most followed TikToker at the time, who was Charlie D'Amelio, you actually found that their facial structure, like the way their faces were mapped out, what they found was that mapping their faces was almost the exact same. It was frighteningly similar. And it's crazy that this lady, Charlie D'Amelio, was the most followed TikToker up until 2022. She had the most followed, she was most followed for 800 days, 807 days to be exact, which is quite an achievement. And she literally never has to work a day in her life. Now, what this study found, and others found in this Medium article in the description, by the way, was that this algorithm had a preference of white people or people with white passing features, and they actually found that those that were black or Asian or any minorities was quite crazy, because considering TikTok's made by Asian people, but it's white people that are actually the most boosted in the algorithm. And we'll talk about suppression and all that stuff later, but this is the type of stuff that stokes racial divides. This is the type of stuff that literally starts this could start race wars. And it's really scummy when you consider that the racial tensions in the West are not good. They are terrible right now. Protests, you got clashes, you got people dying in the streets over this kind of stuff. It's absolutely crazy. So, I just want to mention, this isn't the fault of the user for causing these. The user didn't cause anything. I don't think Charlie D'Amelio caused all these racial tensions to happen in America. That's what I'm saying. But this is all the fault of TikTok. What's crazy is this was found 2 years ago as of recording this video, and a lot of people don't know about this kind of stuff. With all that being said, it really shocked me. It makes me sympathize with the idea of the black pill a little bit, because it really just seems that TikTok only promotes a certain look for, which gets everyone to idealize these certain features as the beauty standard. Now, for those who are unaware, the black pill ideology basically means that it believes that you can't really change the way that you look naturally through things like fashion or fitness, and that you need to have a certain set of preset genetics to basically have even a chance of getting a relationship. And usually, it's like perfect jawline, perfect eyes, you gotta have hunter eyes, might have been named, but you gotta have hunter eyes, the really short eyes, the really small eyes, you gotta have a certain hair, you gotta have a certain look, and it's kind of ridiculous. But I really do sympathize with these people, because it's man, looking at just facial features alone is enough to really just, it's actually crazy. And this actually could also connect to the revival of perms as a hairstyle trend. And I swear on this, because I've seen so many people lately, young men in particular, that are basically getting perms as a hairstyle, who might not naturally have curly hair, but they get like the little curls on the top of their head, like a perm. It's, it's like, man, it's just so demoralizing when you know that, when you feel that as if you were born with the wrong genetics, and so it's over for you. And it feels worse that knowing that you are objectively not being promoted in the algorithm. So if you are trying to get your voice out there, it's like, well, you're not even being promoted because you're ugly, you're undesirable. And we're gonna talk. There's so much to talk about then in regards to, it's not just the algorithm, it's moderation too. But that's for later, buddy. All of this is it's all just contributing to the demoralization and the crushing of one's spirit. And we'll also talk about trying to fit in the crowd, right? What you need to do in regard to this is you need to just reject the beauty standard and start improving your own life and hopefully find someone. Because believe it or not, there are many people out there that don't like this beauty standard. I myself don't look for some of these features that these like popular TikTokers have. At least, unintentionally, of course. I might be attracted to some of them, but it's, for the most part, it's like some people see these as red flags. So there are people out there that are for you. Do not lose hope. That is a number one thing that is basically going to destroy you and your country. You might be asking me, Hunter, what are some reasons you could use TikTok? Explain all that. You understand the algorithm now. Here are some reasons you could use TikTok. Anyways, next segment. Let's look at the damaging effects. Now, the thing is that with all addictions is that your brain, it will start to develop a tolerance to that thing that you're addicted to. So if you start drinking alcohol, you'll start to get used to its effects, which lowers your overall dopamine levels. And so in response to that, you seek an even larger dopamine hit, and so you drink more alcohol to increase the amount of dopamine. More alcohol, more dopamine. Pretty simple. And this cycle just continues and continues, and eventually you die, you overdose on alcohol, unless, some kind of event happens, or you have an event and you're just like, damn, I need to get out of this, right? Well, with TikTok, it's a similar thing. You need to find a video that was better than the last one you liked, the one that you just really liked, right? And there is no end to the scroll. That you could literally scroll for 2, 3, 4, 5 hours just in one sitting, just laying in your bed, mouth breathing and drooling out of your mouth with like a big old puddle in your bed now. And it's like it flew right by. You didn't even know that. You didn't even know it happened. Now, when you finish scrolling TikTok after a long day, your dead-end job, or at school, or whatever it is, now, I'm going to ask you, do you feel peace with yourself? No, like, seriously, do you feel, you on the camera, do you feel at peace with yourself? You don't? Well, yeah. Because most likely that feeling is regret. And that's actually because when you're not creating any new memories, the days feel like they just pass by and by. Like seasons just feel like days to you. And as far as I know, nobody likes it when days and days pass like this so fast, and you're just doing almost nothing and days just go whoop, 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 whoop. They go so fast, right? And there's actually a reason for this, and that is when you lack any new stimuli, because the days pass by and by, well, you're not really creating any memories, and your brain really has no reason to just, it's kind of when you're old, and it's kind of when you're old, right? You're old, you're not really doing anything, not really creating any new memories, and so people just live an isolated life. It's usually the same day-to-day things, or they don't really do much. So the days sort of just pass by, right? Well, this is happening to you as a teenager. And if you were to develop like a normal teenager, the days are going to feel really slow. I'm talking just, it's going to feel like a full day, And that's actually because you're still discovering so many new things. And it's also the time that we start to determine our greatest memories. And this is also time where we are making memories. So we're not only determining memories, but we're also making a lot of memories, and we're also a lot smarter, conscientious, and all that stuff. So So if your brain instead is not making memories, and you're just going to look at memes, or you're looking at some weird posts, then it could go from morning to afternoon really quick, and you're like, well, what the heck happened? As almost everyone knows at this point, the near instant video that you get with all the really all the crazy editing, the fast pace, it keeps you glued to the screen. It does so much damage to your attention span that we've literally reduced our attention spans from like minutes. You could even argue an hour. We've reduced it from literal minutes to like a few seconds, like 10. I think it's like 9 seconds. Now, yes, I did say we previously, just a couple decades ago, we had minutes of attention span. That was our average attention span. Now, if you're wondering why you can't get any work done, it's because your attention span is literally like it's messed up, right? It's way more messed up than it should be. That's why you and probably most people know that you can't do work. It's really hard. I kind of suffer from this too, actually. And it's common sense, right? It's common sense. Everyone knows about it. And, what better example than the funny Family Guy Subway Surfers videos where you got some kind of podcast clip, or you got some hilarious, you got a Joe Rogan clip, you got an Andrew Tate clip, you got a Family Guy clip going on with all captions for literally every single word. Maybe they're just popping up in your face. And on the bottom, you got some gameplay, kind of like Subway Surfers or whatever really crappy mobile games are out these days. And it looks like someone made these games in 2 days. Let's be real here. So everyone knows about this pipeline. People have made videos about it. People have joked about it on TikTok itself. So it's not new to anyone. So another funny thing that I actually recently discovered is that while external factors can be a reason that one gets addicted to the internet, we're also finding out that internet addiction can actually be the cause of these external factors. Now, the thing that you need to remember is that your mind is constantly being activated when you're using the internet. You're not really using any other body part. You're not using your feet unless you're like me and just you like move your hands. You're like lifting weights. Nobody's really doing that, right? So. And the thing is that your brain, and when it comes to internet in general, right, your brain is not activated for this long. It can't handle this much stimuli, especially if you were born with something like ADHD. How does this make any sense? Well, here's an example. So, this is a study done in China. You can't replicate this here because it's just incredible. Compared to America, China, they are okay with a lot more surveillance. America, you wouldn't be able to get away with this kind of study. So it's really hard to replicate. So keep this in mind. So they took over 200 students ages 13 to 18, so around the age of standard TikTok users. This was in 2010, by the way. So it's probably a lot worse now. And basically, the scientists, they monitored all of their internet activity of these kids over 9 months, which is a long time. Now, they didn't know this, but they, had to be a factor, right? But 9 months is a long time. And none of these kids had shown any signs of depression or anxiety. They didn't show any behaviors relating to those. And what they basically found was the relative risk of developing depression was about 2.5 times more likely to happen to those that use the internet than those who do not use the internet. Now, that is just wild to me. And they also found these results that this internet addiction is similar to other established addictions. Now, you're not depressed. You are addicted to watching the equivalent of really bad kids content for adults, You might as well just be that one kid you might as well be the iPad kid on the airplane that just cries when they can't get their Coco Melon or whatever kids watch these days. I don't even know. It's crazy. I can't even watch it. It's just hurts my brain. And actually, in fact, addiction to the internet can actually be the cause of ADHD-like symptoms, according to a few studies and symptomatic reviews. And this would sort of make sense since, we talked about the attention span. We talked about how people can't focus. We can't, the time stuff, the memory stuff, all that kind of things. And for those who are kind of skeptical and might think this isn't possible, well, I'd like to mention that there are certain chemical dyes like Red 40, which you might find on some like hot Cheetos, and those have actually been linked to causing ADHD-like symptoms. And so it's definitely possible that this almost has nothing to do with genetics, and it might actually have to do with your environment and the stuff you're consuming and all that kind of thing, all those kind of things. And really, I could go on and on because the amount of studies that relate to internet addiction are just frightening, but I want this video to be made, and so I have to save that for some other time. Oh, by the way, there are concerning studies that you literally get a fucking hangover after a session with the app. Yes, I'm talking about the same effect that you get when waking up after you're passed out drunk, just drinking too much alcohol. You're like, pretend it's vodka, and you just feel like unpleasant. You're waking up with you're waking up with a headache. You're like, you're like, what happened, right? And you actually get that, and that same feeling is the feeling of regret that you're getting after scrolling TikTok for a few hours. It's basically the same thing as a fucking hangover, okay? I just thought I'd let you know because we're now going to get into the many excuses and copes that people will try to throw at me when using this app. I'm sure people in the comments are going to try to throw some of these at me, so I'm just going to dismantle these while I still can. Now, it's only for the people that are angry at me or attempting to justify their addiction. This is not for those who are actually trying to quit. This is for those who are trying to justify them. Now, if you still use TikTok, you might be telling yourself, I'm not addicted. I'm not going addicted. Oh, okay. Go for a week without TikTok then. Go have someone say, hey, use parental controls. Limit the time that you can actually use the app. You could do it on your phone, whatever. See what happens. And you sound like a smoker. You sound like a smoker say, I could quit anytime. I could quit these cigarettes anytime I want. Well, if you quit right now, what are you going to do? If it's just 3 hours in your bed, what are you going to do? Gonna build a business? Gonna write a book? What are you gonna do? Now, well, everyone in my school does it. Why should I care? Why should I stop? Well, why are you using that? Why is that your argument? Is that your argument? Like, are you kidding me? Like, have some self-respect. I thought you didn't care what other people... These same people will literally say, I don't care what other people think of me. Well, have some faith in yourself. I can't have faith in you if you don't even respect yourself that much. It's worth literally so much time to just do something more productive and healthy. Even if it's just going to the gym and lifting some weights or taking a walk outside, getting some sun out, It's way more healthy than scrolling on the side of your bed, mouth drooling, and for 2 hours, right? If everyone stopped doing it, you would literally stop too. If you want to be successful, you need to value your time and not be prone to these addictions. Frankly, it's just, oh my God, it's a stupid argument. Now, when people say this, when I mention some of these things, they kind of, I do it in moderation. Just do it in moderation. It's fine. Well, this quote-unquote moderation, that's what got you addicted in the first place. Do you not recognize that? That's your pride and ego. Your pride and ego is talking that. You think that you think that you're immune to these addictions, but a few months down the line, you feel like crap, okay? I don't want to hear that. You see, what happened was you saw one cringy TikTok, you downloaded it out of curiosity, and now you're hooked. That's usually how it goes. I hate this argument so much because you don't even recognize the root cause of the issue. You don't recognize that TikTok itself could be an issue, or that People are bored, and so they want to go on TikTok. You don't recognize this, you know? You wish you were able to moderate. I wish I was able to moderate. But you wish you were part of the, 0.01% that could actually moderate what they do on the app, you know? Understandable, I guess, if you're making money on there, but, like, most people are doing it just to scroll. You're not doing it to make money. You're just doing it to scroll or express yourself, which I'll talk about later. Now, I'll explain why, and I'll even explain why this doesn't even work as a solution in my chapter 4. Now, here's another one. I do it because of my OCD. I do it because of my ADHD or whatever neurological disorder. Like, that is just the demoralization I mentioned talking. You say this because you cannot be bothered to take any form of responsibility for your actions. And frankly, I think you are a disgrace to anyone who actually suffers from these conditions. Now, these type of people think that neurological disorders are just something that you could romanticize. For example, so let me give you a background. I'm autistic. I'm literally autistic. I was diagnosed at 2 years old. There's clear signs that I'm autistic, right? But just because I'm autistic, it does not mean that society should bow to the fact that I don't always understand social cues. You know what I did? I struggled for years, basically on my own. I had brothers and parents and stuff that loved me, but I basically struggled on my own. And I can tell you right now that my childhood was hell. It was awful. Like, seriously, it was awful. It's not the best childhood. You know, it's not a childhood I would want anyone experiencing. Not the worst thing in the world, but it was not fun, especially in the social aspect of things. You know, thank God I managed to read up and figure out these social cues all on my own these recent years, because nowadays I can socialize with people pretty normally. But this is not to be romanticized. This is not something that's quirky. It's not fun, okay? These same people, they like read a little bit of the DSM-5 and they think all of a sudden that you could just diagnose people. You could diagnose people or yourself with these all these mental issues, instead of just taking responsibility and thinking, oh, well, maybe my behavior isn't the best, or maybe I didn't have best social development as a child. It's so crazy because the National Institute of Mental Health actually has rejected this book 10 years ago. It's almost its 10th anniversary, and that's due to the fact that there's so many political and pseudoscientific propaganda, and it claims things like the fact that behavioral addictions do not exist. This is absolutely not true, and pretty much any scientist will tell you. Any psychologist or even like medical expert will tell you this. You're not mentally ill because of genetics or what you were born as. You are mentally ill because you are delusional. You are insane. And frankly, this app, I don't blame you, but this app has made you go insane. Think for a minute, okay? Now, people will try to say that, banning this app will violate free speech. This is a violation of free speech and free expression. Well, I'm going to be that guy. You do not actually care about free speech. You are just using this in bad faith to defend your addiction and to defend other people's addictions. You just say this because you want to keep scrolling. If other platforms could do what they want as a private company, then governments likewise can ban those platforms if they choose. If platforms are not bashing of free speech, likewise governments can ban these platforms and businesses. These businesses are not exempt from being challenged or anything like that. Facebook has been hit plenty of times. Google has been hit plenty of times. Microsoft has been hit plenty of times. This is not new, man. And this isn't a restriction on free speech. You know, you could argue if some of these laws are bad. I will argue that some of them, yeah, sure, they're bad. But these are social media platforms at the end of the day. They are not responsible for the people that upload this content. So, likewise, it's on the people. It's on the people to not upload the bad content. So, it's on the people to go to a different platform. And besides, TikTok bans plenty of people. It bans so many people. So if the government doesn't want your data compromised by banning the app entirely for citizens, well, I hate to break it to you, they could do that if they wish. And it's like, it's so stupid. TikTok creators already do upload on YouTube Shorts and Instagram Reels already. I just don't see the argument. I mean, literally, I view TikToks without even going on TikTok. This is such a stupid argument. And these people, like the ACLU does not care about free speech. They just care about power. That's it. You know, even if I don't agree with some of these laws that are being passed or the way that this is getting handled, this is not about free speech. This is about the sovereignty and like our protection of privacy. This is a huge cybersecurity concern for everyone, even compared to like Google or Amazon or something like that. And, you know, well, people will counter also some of these points of, you know, diction is like, oh yeah, just let people do what they want. It's not hurting anyone, right? And I don't even need to explain how this is a stupid argument. It's the same thing as I use it because other people use it. It's the same thing, right? You're just saying these people have a right to be addicted to this stuff. Yeah, you do have the right to be addicted to this stuff, but you don't understand that this kind of stuff has a ripple effect. The more people that use TikTok, the more people are compelled to go install the app themselves and get addicted to the app. Like, there's no understanding of of kind of ripple effect. The reason it's different than like alcohol, because when alcohol was banned, it actually started people illegally making alcohol, and it had, you know, eventually it was unbanned. Well, it's not the same here. This is stuff that actually socially compels people. If people, I'll talk about this in my next argument, but you don't even realize that you're contributing to all of these social and societal pressures. And, you know, well, and that leads to the argument, well, banning people won't stop it from using it. Well, yeah, I guess if you're the 0.1% of the people that care so badly that you'll literally purchase or make your own VPN so you can view TikToks, which I doubt, because most people get VPN for security, and if you're getting an app that's not secure, it's like, what are you doing? You know, people use TikTok because it's free entertainment. That's pretty much it. Like, as a child gonna go ask their parents, hey, can I get a VPN so I can access this thing that threatens my privacy? The parents are probably informed of the ban, would probably be informed of a ban and be like, no, you can't use it. It's banned in our country. No, you're not allowed to. We're not gonna let you get this. The U.S. bans child pornography, so there's really no reason that TikTok couldn't be banned if it's such a threat to national security. You know, this mentality as a whole is so stupid. It's like, this mentality is a reason that our governments just allow companies to normalize us eating like literal poison for decades. Like, grow up. You have a childish mentality, man. It's so ridiculous. Now, I won't even I'm not even going to bother with the business side of things, because frankly, you're putting all your eggs in one basket, like with your business on the internet. If you can't somehow reach out to other platforms or reach out to the internet as a whole, you're doing something wrong. You know, why know about all these security risks why is it that you know about all of these security risks and you still decide, I'm only gonna have my business there? Oh, hate to break it to you, there's Instagram, there's Facebook, there's YouTube, there's Twitter, there's all these platforms that you could use. You know, not saying they're good. I talk crap about them, but you could use all these platforms for marketing. There's so many other platforms. Like, please use some logic here. You know, like, I guess if you're only using your business on TikTok, well, I hate to break it to you, you're just asking yourself to go flip burgers at McDonald's because you have literally no other talent, you know, and that makes you a bad marketer too, in a sense. So get a job, Wagey. Go clean it up, Janny. Clean it up, Wagey. Okay. So, with all that said, now let's get into the next chapter. Let's face it, you know it, I know it. TikTok is full of cringe. This is chapter 3, and this is going to be talking about the moderation and all the content that goes on TikTok, as well as a few other things that go on for social reasons, right? So it has TikTok, as everyone knows, has a lot of extremely cringy content. Going on any other social media, go on YouTube, Reddit, Twitter, Instagram, you're going to see a lot of TikTok cringe. You'll see some cringe compilations. You're going to see a lot of that. So the thing is that cringe culture has been around ever since social media sites have been a thing. And you could argue it's gone back to our tribal days when we were just hunting things and gathering, From reaction videos to Reddit videos to TikTok reactions, a lot of us, we like to look at cringy things and laugh about it, right? It's a naturally human thing to laugh at and mock others that aren't like us. It's a very reason why bullying even exists as a concept, right? We want to feel like a normal group while making fun of those that aren't a part of us. We've all mocked someone. We've all mocked a stupid idea. We've all laughed at it. I've literally done it in this video, But they say that you are what you eat, and you've heard this quote so many times as you were growing up. It's the reason we try to eat the best foods that we can, that are good for us, and it's why we start to feel shame, like why our body feels shamed when we eat the bad foods, processed stuff, right? The copious amount of sugar and other stuff, right? We feel terrible about that. And the sort of thing applies to negative content too. Now, if you've seen my video on Instagram, you would know that when it comes to social media, people don't just look there for positivity and entertainment. They just look for general emotional engagement. That's all they really care about. It could be positivity or entertainment, but it could also be negative stuff to be mad about. Like, yeah, F this guy, screw this guy, right? We all have those kind of moments. And if you're emotionally engaged, it's probably the reason you keep watching this video. It's probably the reason you're watching this video in the first place. So, naturally, when people post cringe or something that people disagree with, there's going to be people that are opposed to it that will use the site to push back. And, whether that's someone on the opposite political end of the spectrum pushing back, or someone ironically just memeing someone, like they're trying to do this cool thing, and then someone is doing a really funny parody mocking them, or it's just someone just debunking stupidity, debunking lies, whatever it is. And I mean, the clear example of this is that the most followed TikToker is Kabi Lame, who is literally just someone who is silently mocking life hack videos using much more simple solutions. Like, he literally just That's literally all the guy does. That's all he does, and he literally has almost 160 million followers doing that. And now he's worldwide famous and never has to pay a dime again. In fact, many YouTubers have actually gotten famous off of these TikTok reactions. So it's not out of the question that this happens. Now, let's talk about the moderation, which is probably one of the darkest parts of the video, and I guess content warning, it's really this kind of stuff is really messed up. And it's not just the algorithm that's enforcing this vision of a perfect social media platform, but also there are many moderators behind the screen making sure that this algorithm is correctly enforced. So, all the way back in 2020, The Independent reported that TikTok instructed moderators to suppress creators when who they deemed too ugly, poor, or just straight up disabled. So, if you look a certain way, or you don't have a certain amount of income, or you're just literally disabled, like you have something wrong with your legs or something, they literally suppress that. Now, and I'll read a quote. Quote, TikTok moderators were told to suppress users with a quote-unquote abnormal body shape, ugly facial looks, too many wrinkles, or in slums, rural fields, and dilapidated housing. So basically, if you're not part of an urban elite class in LA or New York or Miami, you're gonna have a lot harder time getting popular on TikTok unless you make something like oddly satisfying or something. You're just you're putting yourself into a rat race that's going to lead to a lot of mental issues. Now, if the enforcing of unrealistic beauty standards wasn't enough when it comes to moderation practices, they literally make the admins watch child pornography, real child pornography. I'm not making a mistake here. I'm not exaggerating. This literally happens. And they supposedly do this so that the admins know what to look for when banning this kind of material. And all of this, while they ignore the fact that this kind of problem is happening with underage people, minors, making not safe for work content on TikTok live streams. It's absolutely. I'm not even gonna touch that, but because there's so much more filth to touch, and frankly, the kind of stuff is absolutely deplorable. Oh yeah, by the way, if you speak up against the many crimes that the CCP has committed, you're just gonna be banned. You know why? If people knew, they'd possibly leave the app, knowing TikTok's connections with CCP, they'd be frightened. So of course they can't let people do that. And similar to the original app Musical.ly, TikTok promotes many videos, particularly of teenage girls or pretty boys doing certain dances. In fact, some of the most successful content creators on the site never had to work a day in their life, all because they looked pretty on the camera or did some cool dances. You know, or it's just some kind of celebrity or brand account. But as I was saying, the thing about these girls dancing is that they're doing this at a much younger age, and it can be as low as literally 12 years old that I've seen. Because I don't like looking at this kind of stuff. I can't remember exactly. It's so long ago. I'm not going to look at that content or even show it here. But I'm just thinking to myself, like, why would they blatantly post such teasing content, like such weirdly sexual content at such a young age? You know, they should be aware that they're creeps on the internet, right? They're weirdos on the internet. But it's a yes and a no question. It's a yes and no answer for me. And I say this because these girls are fully aware of what they're doing. They know what they're doing. They know that they're making thirst traps for these guys, right? They absolutely want the attention from other guys, and they want to be looked at as the prettiest girl in school. What better way to do that than to look pretty in the algorithm and get all these likes and validation, right? You know, it's just a form of self-expression, right? You know, best way to do that is to sexualize yourself. That's how you get the views. That's how clickbait works. We men, especially us men, we're like our monkey brain. We see women with interesting pose, and we for any topic, and we're like, ooh, I must look. You know, we're not immune to this kind of thing. It's not, you know. So we're obviously going to look at these videos more, right? Well, and the thing is too that this has been a dynamic that's been going on in schools for generations. You know, you could go all the way back to the 60s. This is really, it's not going to change unless you change the entire culture of the country, really, or of the schools in our country. And this is where I get to my no answer. And I say no because these people lack the foresight or awareness to potentially understand the consequences of their actions that will not only affect others, that will not only affect themselves and potentially getting harmed or something like that, but it will also start to affect others around them by giving them a pornography addiction. Now, I could also mention the many weirdos or creeps that have also come from TikTok, but there's so many people that have covered them. It's been covered in the news, and I'm sure you know about many of these people already, right? It's been a problem in every platform: YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. It's everywhere. It's not new. Well, the thing that produces these kind of people is porn addiction. So, and this is what I'm talking about when it comes to lack of foresight. Many of these girls probably have no idea or don't have any of the knowledge that they might be contributing to these men lusting over them and getting addicted to porn. Now, this just goes beyond self-expression. You know, these men, they're not, now at this point, these girls are not to be the ones being looked at by men. They're just going to porn sites, right? It's a dark reality that many of these girls have may live to have regretted for doing for the rest of their life, doing these dances for these creepy men. And, you know, I get it. Man, I sympathize with them because, and there's no shame to it. No shame that you've done it. I just want to be that, I want to be clear that there's no shame if you've done it before, you know. That's not what this video is for. I know I'm repeating myself a little bit, but this video is not to shame you, but it's to understand the dark reality that this is a massive problem that is only going to get worse as more of these videos get popular on TikTok. You know, and the thing is, for some of these girls, it might be too late. The reality might hit, and it might be too late for them to do anything. It might be too late for they might have ruined their careers. They might have, you know, they might have you know, worse would happen. Worse bad things would happen. Let's just say that. And you know, I've mentioned the effects of some of this video, some of this kind of material on us in my Instagram video, and so I'm not going to mention it here. Safe to say, of course, that this content is not promoted on the Chinese version of the app, and we'll talk about that. Now, why do I say that all this is promoting the algorithm? There's no evidence to show that, right? Well, if you search up on OnlyFans on the site when you register as a 13-year-old, what the Wall Street Journal found was that you would get bombarded with videos about adult entertainment and drugs, all from searching OnlyFans, which some people might not know is not just a platform for exclusive content, but a platform for people to sell you know what, right? And if you think that's bad, remember that 16% of British toddlers and a third of those who are 5 to 7 are using the platform. These people are literally defenseless against an algorithm that promotes this kind of behavior. They don't know what they're up against. They can't comprehend it. They just do the phone thing. Now, I read this quote here. If you want to destroy any nation without war, make adultery or nudity common in the young generation. Now, the reason this quote exists is because it was a trend that actually was one of the reasons that led to the fall of Rome, which was one of the greatest empires of all of history. Because at its time, it was incredibly powerful. It revolutionized politics, it revolutionized philosophy, it revolutionized a lot of things. Maybe not so much of technology, but it revolutionized a lot of political systems. And before the fall of Rome, like hundreds of years before the fall, we saw acts of political corruption. We saw massive amounts of hedonism from the younger generation. And people in Rome back then were even warning that if these trends start to continue, we would see the fall of Rome. But as all of you know, Rome fell to the barbarians, who were much less technologically advanced than the empire. And the reason I'm talking about this fall of Rome is because the United States is actually in a very similar position to what Rome was in right now. And unless we learn from the Romans, we're going to suffer the same fate. Now, I forget the name of the person, but the person who said this quote was the founder and the first ruler of the Ayyubid dynasty. Ayyubid dynasty, whatever. It's hard to pronounce. Give me a break. He was a major figure in the Muslim opposition to the Crusades at the time, which, if you don't know what the Crusades are, they're very hot war. It was a very long, brutal, lots of deaths. And the reason he said this is because he didn't want the young generation to fall to the same fate as many civilizations had. And they understand the importance of family over sexual freedom. It's really, and most people don't want to admit this, but the more partners you have, the less likely you are to be in a stable relationship. The less partners that are willing to actually go out with you, despite whether or not you've changed. So I want to make that very clear. This kind of stuff destroys families. And, of course, they lost to, the Ayyubid dynasty. The Ayyubids, they eventually lost the Crusades because the church was just incredibly powerful, you know. And it's a trend we can't let happen for the sake of our country. We could do better, and I'll explain this more on my video Pornography in the future, but, you know, you can look in the description. There's a speech that sort of changed my mind about pornography. It's over 8 years ago. It's a really entertaining talk. You know, he is Christian, but he mostly talks about this stuff from a non-theistic perspective. A lot of mental health issues also arise when we miss out on our youth and we just try to go to adult activities right away. I don't need a study on this. Just look at the world around you. You know, mental health, all that stuff. Just look. Now, it's not just the risky content, the TikTok dancing, but it's also really destructive trends. Now, if you've seen the studies and everything previously said in this video, you will understand that the influence that this mentality has on the youth is extremely dangerous, extremely powerful. And when you wield so much power among the young generation, it's really, you got to do your best to promote the good things. Well, I've actually specifically made this point for this section of the video because every social media does this to an extent, but TikTok is especially egregious when it comes to destroying the culture of our country, and has probably been the most damaging thing in all of this. Now, what am I talking about? What are these trends? You know, you might be asking. You know, I think most people know, but let me walk you through. You know, step by step, right? First, trying to walk on milk crates. You know, they're like this big, right? As big as this mic, right? You know, here, like you could see the mic. It's like they're like kind of like this big, like this. This is like the radius of this box. It's like this big, right? Pretty, not very small, and you're literally just walking on these and trying to stack them. You got dry scooping, protein powder, and other powdered supplements. You have cleaning your meat with soap and water, which is incredibly dangerous. You should not do this. Do not do that. Taking a high dose of allergy medicine, Benadryl, to hallucinate, which has broken the minds of some people. Stealing items out of a school for bragging rights. Everyone knows about that. And literally committing crimes like stealing cars. Now, these challenges aren't new to social media. And this kind of clout chasing is definitely not new at all. You could look back at challenges like cinnamon challenges, plank challenge, or even the Tide Pod challenge. You could look at these pranksters that are just doing wild stuff for clout. Some of these people get shot and killed out of self-defense. It's absolutely insane. And the thing about TikTok is that it's only made these dangerous trends more frequent, and it seems to just barely take action, with the exception of a few illegal trends like the Devious Lick challenge. But it was only after all this media outrage. It lasted for like a month or something. It lasted for a long time, and only then TikTok now finally started to they got rid of the challenge after so much backlash. And this and many other reasons are why I think TikTok. I think TikTok knows this, and part of me thinks of this because of how they promote music and other original sounds. So you might notice that with many trends out there, they will use the same song to indicate that they are part of a trend, or it's part of a meme. It's, to get popular, right? People will use this, search this song and you'll see this video as part of this trend. People will do that. There's a search function for a reason, right? Well, and you could even find recommended sounds in your For You page, and you could clearly see the name of the audio in the bottom of the video. Whether it's original or if it's some kind of song, people search that kind of stuff. Now, if you still don't believe me, TikTok's actually under a lawsuit for supposedly promoting the Blackout Challenge, which, for those who don't know, you basically are strangling yourself or asphyxiating yourself, or doing it to someone else until they literally pass out. Your face go blue and they just, Now, you might be saying, Why would anyone do that? That is literally deadly, fatal, right? Well, you got to remember that children, teenagers, they're very impressionable people, and a lot of them still probably haven't developed morals or any kind of rules for themselves. They haven't really grounded themselves in some kind of rule set, And this challenge also, keep in mind, has history and it goes far back as 2008. But it was TikTok that actually revived this in 2021, and to this day still has victims of people that do this challenge. And you could actually look at some of the, you could do some research like TikTok blackout challenge, and you'll see some headlines to this day that are being made about someone passing out, dying, or passing out, or being seriously injured from this challenge. And you want to know something crazy? You know what China's version of TikTok, also known as Douyin, promotes? Patriotism, motivation, scientific experiments, arts, basically anything that's like positive or educational. It inspires people to do better, to critically think, to find some sort of ambition, and to love your country. It's all to boost morale and, to boost that spirit. Talking about the demoralization, this version of the app, Douyin, is supposed to boost the morale of people. It's supposed to moralize people. And speaking of educational videos, hopefully this video is the start of helping your personal algorithm, like in your recommended feed, recommend more educational and thought-provoking content. Maybe it's not just my channel, but other content creators that I share this space with. This is one of the best ways that you can fight back against these forms of algorithmic pressure. Let's talk about how you sort of feel obligated to stay and use TikTok because of all the trends that come from the app. Well, it's one of the many excuses that I mentioned previously in the previous chapter that people give when they are told to just delete TikTok. And I get it. I love meme culture. But I would never really keep up with the jokes because they were so commonly used by TikTokers. In fact, a lot of my memes are just, they're just people posting these memes on TikTok to other platforms like Discord or Reddit or whatever. I totally get it. Now, next day, it's hard to keep up, and so I kind of was like, I'm not going to use this app, because meme happens, it dies very quickly as soon as someone covers it, and now they're finding a different trend, and now it's unfunny. Now, even though I literally have never used the app in my life, I actually still felt the effects of this myself, and I'd sort of feel forced to do certain things that I thought people thought were cool. I thought it was cool. I thought it was the new hip thing in town. Well, I didn't understand the entire context, Still, social issues here and there, but I was just doing it because it was trendy. That's it, If the gritty was popular on TikTok, but I would have never known about that if it wasn't posted all over every other social media. But it seems like TikTok is like the center of all the trends that happen these days. Now, what is this phenomenon? It's called the fear of missing out, which is also known as FOMO. It's a commonly used tactic in sales and marketing on social media to get customers to buy or consume a product. You gotta make the customers feel emotionally compelled to buy something. You can't just talk about how it does this, it does that, it does that. You gotta emotionally compel these people to buy it. You gotta do some psychological tricks to do it. It sounds so cliche, but it is really cliche. Like I mentioned in my Instagram video, people feel as if they need to act a certain way due to algorithmic pressures, or just due to real life social pressures. I totally get it. And you might have heard something along the lines of, "Oh, why don't you use TikTok? There's so much great content there. Why don't you use TikTok? It's great. I love, I use the app all the time. That's mostly what I'm doing these days." And while a lot of times they don't mean it to be mean, they're kind of subconsciously pressuring you to use the app, as you want to be their friend, right? So you can't relate to them, so what better way to do it than to get the app so you can start to relate to them. Hey, look at this funny creator. Yeah, I really like this creator. And it's been a thing forever, right? Ever since we were humans, we've been wired to follow behaviors of the majority, and so we naturally gravitate towards what everyone else is doing. If we're not with other people, back in the hunter-gatherer days, we just end up dying, or we would end up being in severe danger, and frankly, that probably would lead us to our death, right? Sooner or later, you're probably going to die, or you're probably going to die younger. That's kind of how it goes. That's kind of how it was. Most people didn't even go past 18, which is crazy. Why is it that you've been told not to go to certain places or certain environments? Well, it's because people in these environments, certain people in these environments, you don't want to attract certain people from these environments, which they could be really bad influences on you. They could be really bad friends, Like, why is it that, drinking is restricted to those who are 21? Well, if it's like those who are 18, if you're going with those that are 18 and drinking all the time, well, they might not be the best influence on you because they might give you an alcohol addiction. And, state governments know this. And the thing is that as more and more people leave the app and start making it culturally taboo to use, the rate that people will leave will probably grow. People, if there's like a mass exodus hashtag that comes from any kind of activism or whatever, it's, people will leave. People are willing to leave if they feel compelled to. If they feel emotionally compelled enough to do so, they will leave. Now, as someone who has actually rejected social media and other bad habits from people multiple times, I get it. You feel like you can't fit in with everyone, right? You can't fit in with anyone. Well, the thing is that even if like the said person that's asking you about this is your friend or your brother, your family member, you feel like you're missing out on so many interactions with that person. My own brothers have used Instagram and still use it as recording this video, and I felt extremely pressured to get it back on there, but every time they would ask me, I just rejected it because I have to stick to my values before social interaction, because if I'm not sticking to my values, I'm not going to find people that have any respect for me or any good influences in my life. It's just not going to happen. If I don't have self-respect, why would other people respect me? So, if you're smart enough, you might be able to convince people, yeah, you're totally right, dude. This app is so messed up. I really should not be using social media, right? Well, and some of them, they do just go ahead and delete the app if they have enough respect for themselves. At this point, am I finally getting through to you? I actually want to know. Maybe you could say in the comments or something, but you might be watching this segment to understand the context of why you're addicted and what you're addicted to, but you probably want a solution on leaving the app. So this is chapter 4, and it's a very long video, but we're almost there. We're almost done. And this chapter is mostly just going to go over the solutions, regarding yourself or your friends or whoever it is. Now, for many of these social media sites, people will say one of the most common pieces of advice is just use it in moderation, right? Time yourself. Use a track or whatever. Use an app that forces you to close the app, or use whatever like focus mode on. Like I'm using Android. There's like a focus mode on there. Use something like that, right? Well, the thing is that with everything I pointed out with TikTok, it's pretty obvious that you should just delete it right now. I hope you maybe deleted it as you're watching this video, but delete it right now. Just, first thing, uninstall the app immediately. Don't cry about it. Don't mope about it. Do not cope. Don't do any of this thing. Don't feel terrible leaving the app. Just breathe. Rejoice. You're free. You're finally free from the app. Just be happy. Be happy you freed yourself. The thing is that when you get poisoned, you don't just first treat the effects of the poison while it's still in your system and actually actively spreading. No, you just remove the poison, then you get the treatment. You remove, if you drink bleach, you remove the bleach and then you stop the effects. That's how it goes. You don't keep it on there while you're like getting a stomach pump. You should have done this already, or at least, if you had a thought about doing it. But if you haven't, just delete it, right? like many other social media, we use these as time wasters, right? You know, as a way to avoid the responsibility of life, as boomers would say. Well, you might have friends or relatives that might be addicted, and you know, I'll talk about this later. But when you feel that they're ready to view this whole video and to kind of understand this, just send them this video. I was gonna say something like, spread clips, spread shorts of this video on TikTok, and for you personally, if you're like one of these people that gets you can't moderate, don't do it. But you're honestly just better off. You're better off leaving these people behind. If you don't have any editing skills, please just leave. Don't bother. If you have some, you have some good editing skills, you're fine. You might be fine spreading some clips here and there just for like marketing sakes. If you're doing it for like marketing, whatever, I don't blame you. But like if you're a user just using the app and consuming the app and not posting or creating anything, just leave the app. Just leave the app. You're not doing this for business. You're just doing it for validation. Just leave the app. And plenty of people will make ironic posts about TikTok, how TikTok is killing your attention spans, but you did nothing about it. Just leave the app. Don't bother trying to moderate on there. I'm not even going to make and for anyone who knows, I'm not posting any clips of myself on TikTok, of like me personally. It's on behalf of everyone else. When you leave TikTok, the battle is going to continue for quite a while, and depending on how long you've been addicted, it could take months. Depending on the severity, it can lead to increased agitation, depression, anger, and anxiety just after a few days, and depending on how severe your addiction was. And this could last quite a while. And you might even start to feel some physically draining symptoms like a rapid heartbeat, tenseness of shoulders, and shortness of breath. And although I just feel as if there's more symptoms out there like that could develop as a potential result of the amount of boredom you probably could experience, because when you quit these kind of activities, you're like, oh, what do I do now? Do I read a book? Well, I can't read a book. My brain is like fried, right? Well, okay, I get it. It's really hard. That's why it's so difficult to quit, or at least to stay out of it. You know what I mean? Now, this is a global, worldwide problem. It's not one person is not enough to get us out. Willpower alone does not help us in any way. And if anyone who tries to say, "Oh, just use your willpower and just stop using TikTok," it doesn't work. There's so many reasons that this doesn't work. So there's a receptor in your brain called the D2 receptor, and basically this does not allow you to it makes it hard to quit, because when you lose the D2 receptor in your brain, for those who don't know, it's your willpower receptor. It is what regulates your activity in regards to your brain. And as you're recovering from this, eventually those receptors will start to come back, and they'll be produced naturally again. But you got to get off. You got to get off of this stuff for at least a few months, and realistically, you can't go on this app again. That's the goal of this. Now, if you know someone that doesn't use TikTok, just make sure to if you know someone that doesn't use TikTok and you're using it, just make sure to tell them, hey, hold me accountable. Be it a friend, a parent, or anyone close to you that you interact with on a nearly daily basis. Preferably in person, right? Maybe not so much online. Unless you're calling them every day, and you don't want to have an awkward conversation. That's a big reason to compel people. No more encouraging the sexualization of children. No more minor drug trafficking, which is a thing on TikTok as well as Instagram, but whatever. And no more of any of this depravity while we sit idly by as another child kills themselves because they believe that there's no purpose to life, that no one loves them, and that they can't do anything, that they're just worthless. It's time to take action now. and delete TikTok for the greater good of humanity. Yourself, your family, and your country's future are all on the line here if you do not act now. Tell your friends to stop sending you any videos or links from TikTok because you need to be serious about this. If you're serious about this, you need to understand that you are very quickly going to have to go the full mile. There is no moderation. You need to go the full mile extremely quickly. You need to understand that. You need to be ready for that, okay? And if it's not you to delete the app, it's going to be the US that deletes the app. It's going to be UK that, bans the app. And, as of recently, Montana literally banned the app, and it will be effective January 2024. So people literally will not have access to TikTok. So people will kind of be forced in a position where they have to interact with each other. And that's just one of the steps that's closer to a literal national ban. Now, I repeat this not to annoy you, but to remind you that you will feel terrible at some point in your life, and you wake up one morning and the app is gone. It's all gone. You can't do anything about it. And all your saved videos on the app, at least, get deleted. You might have saved them to your phone, not the app, but be ready for that, Now, you might be asking, well, where do I go? I said that moderation is a myth when it comes to context of TikTok. Where do I go? And I sort of alluded this to my Instagram videos. I'll talk about Reels, but let's say TikTok is banned in your country right now. Now, my warning to you is that you could easily stop. While you could easily stop, you could just easily get addicted again, or you could get addicted to something else, as many recovering addicts have actually done. Example, you stop drinking alcohol, but you start smoking, or you stop smoking, you start eating a lot of junk food, that sort of thing. It's a fundamentally psychological problem. It's not just a willpower, I quit now thing, right? Now, rather than just scrolling other social medias, rather than just scrolling Instagram and YouTube and Twitter or whatever it is, you need to find a purpose, some sort of purpose. And that purpose might just be social media marketing. And then in that case, if you're actually trying to social media market whatever, if you really need to, I'll give you permission. But if you're just doing it, if you're, be aware that you need to market the fact that we can't be addicted to this stuff anymore. You need to be aware of that, right? We can't contribute to the problem. We got to do our best to not contribute to the issue at hand. And I don't blame you if you feel like as if you've done it. There's no shame in it. I'm certainly somewhat doing it because I'm uploading a 3-hour video on YouTube, but that's my my point, right? But many don't know where to start to find their purpose, right? That's okay. I don't know your personal situation, but make sure that you find something that you could do to help the world that you would do for free. Replace TikTok with a podcast or a long form video, even if it's just some random video that's like trivial and it's like long and you can just relax to it. Just something that's not TikTok, right? You're watching this video, right? Well, no need to pause. I'll let you think. I'll let you think. I'm gonna go get some water because I'm really thirsty. Man's thirsty out here. Needed some kind of excuse to get water, right? So you might have thought about it for a minute now. You might have been overthinking because there's a lot of obstacles in the way. You feel very overwhelmed, And I could give you a personal example for me, I was addicted to social media because I wanted to feel validated by others, and I wanted to feel as if I was part of a community. Well, why did I want to do this? Well, I wanted to belong to a group because I didn't have a group in real life. Now, why did I want to do this? Well, I can't make friends in person, and I felt that I couldn't make memories as a teenager, and that there was nothing else to appreciate in real life. So, screw it, I'll just go on social media and validate myself. Now, let's say that, okay, I can, do these physical things. Well, I'm still limited by the fact that I can't drive. I can't drive. Well, okay, I could go get a driver's license. What happens if I get a driver's license? Well, how do I afford a car? What happens if I can't use this car? What happens if it breaks down? Costs and money, how I'll be able to pay, okay, well, I could get a job, get some experience. Well, I don't have any experience, or I'm just too scared, or I'm too lazy. Yes, I've literally said this myself. I've literally said that I'm too lazy to get a job. I know I could go on, but the point is, you're overwhelmed, and you believe you can't do it. You solve one problem, there's a bajillion other problems out there. And to that I say is, my solution is to be conscious so you can actively challenge it. You can actually start to challenge these problems one by one. Don't think about the bigger picture. Just think tiny. Think in small tasks. You can think about the future. Think about the future is good, but you don't want to think about it too much because you're going to be very, very anxious. People that think about the future, you're doing it's good, but at the same time, it's preventing you from doing a lot of things. So just be present. Just think in the now for right now. Challenge yourself little by little. Clean your room. You can make your bed once a week. You can start you can start a little small habit like cooking your own food. I literally just started by just boiling my own. I literally started by just boiling my own pasta. Just put a little bit of effort into one thing consistently, and then start to use a concept called progressive overload, which is doing more and more and more. You start small and you do more and more and more as you go. And eventually, you feel like you can do everything. You feel invincible. Now you can do a lot more, and you have a roadmap ahead. Just one tiny grain of sand at a time. Just one glass of water at a time. Delicious again. Now, if that means you literally just do nothing, you sit in your room and you stare at a wall for like an hour, that's actually, I'm going to say that's a good start, because you're forcing your mind to think on just one thing. Just, and that's a good thing, right? Just sit down and breathe, all right? Maybe that's what you think about. Just for a minute, just breathe. Maybe just think about the breath, right? Just now, you might have been like me and you naturally just closed your eyes for a minute, and just to block some visual stimulation, you might have felt your eyes darting, so you need to think and you just need to breathe. And if you did that, congratulations. That's what meditation is. That's it. That's all you're doing. Now, if I just told you to go meditate without even defining what it is or how to do it, you probably would have either called me a weirdo, you might have said it wouldn't have worked, or you would have kind of just doubted the legitimacy of it. But that's all you did. That's all you need to do for meditation. It's pretty simple. There's other forms of meditation, but my point is it's pretty simple. You don't need to put too much pressure on yourself. You just need to remember progressively overload. Take this concept of meditation. You could do it. I think I did it for 30 seconds. We'll see when I rewatch the video, but did it for around 30 seconds. Maybe you could go to a minute, 3 minutes, 5 minutes. You go longer. Go longer and longer each week, right? It's just, and if you're not feeling it, you're not feeling, you feel demoralized or demotivated, just tell yourself a few things, right? All right. TikTok will take my life and energy if I reinstall it. I will go back to square one. I am free from the slavery of TikTok. I can enjoy other things beyond TikTok. Now, tell yourself affirmations like this, and there are a few more. You could come up with your own, and you want to get yourself to the point where you believe it. You need to have an almost religious devotion to this. You need to have a mentality that when you are facing reality, nothing will stop you. You are going to face reality, but nothing can get in your way. And getting this along with your devotion to more meaningful tasks in your life, even just cleaning a room, it's going to help. It's going to make you turn your life around. It's going to help with your mental health. You're going to realize very quickly that these sort of things are just helpful. Now, and I've already mentioned that you go to a different medium, it won't do anything. The D2 receptors in your brain will not tell the difference. Your brain does not tell the difference between TikTok and Instagram. There's literally no difference, One has a larger screen of video, which is actually a key component of TikTok's design, but for Instagram, if you're still scrolling on Instagram, your brain is doing the same exact thing, and you're still addicted to this, and there's plenty of evidence to show that. And you're basically you have no ability to control yourself. There's no self-control. You're just transferring that to one place to the other. So, and as I mentioned previously, these D2 receptors will start to repair. Just give it a few months. Keep fighting. It's not impossible. Just keep going. That's all I need to say about where you go. Now, I'm betting that so many people in the comments would say that the people who need to see this the most will never see it, and I relate to that feeling, and so I don't want you guys to feel defeated on that front. This is a 3-hour video. I doubt, even those with a decent attention span that don't watch TikTok or any shorts content don't even want to watch this video. I totally get it. It's a bit wild. It's a bit wild, a bit paradoxical, considering that I'm making something that is literally against the attention span of every single TikToker. So, first thing you need to do is place yourself in the place of the user. If you try to fight them or try to get rid of this addiction by just giving them the facts and logic, trying to destroy them, you're going to make them more defensive. This is actually, it's called the backfire effect, and it's basically like if you try to, give them factual data, and you give people factual data, if they are devoted enough to something, they will only strengthen their views. They will only strengthen that view despite it being almost completely wrong, completely bogus, right? So don't fight them. Don't try to own them with facts and logic. You're fighting an uphill battle, and you're going to get crushed by a boulder. That's essentially how this is going to go. You're the guy trying to fight the uphill battle, and the dude on the top is the guy that's addicted, and he just rolls a boulder, and you're dead, right? It's done. So just ignore them. If they're being combative about it, just ignore the person. Don't let that person in your life. You really are better off without them if they're being combative about it. So, the best way to understand this is to have them understand. They need someone to sympathize with. They need someone that sympathizes with their thoughts. And this is a bit hard for me as someone who's literally never used TikTok, but hear me out here because I've read quite a few books on this. People use TikTok to relax. Get them in a company of ex-users. They use this to relax, and while this is kind of delusional because your brain is constantly being activated when you're on the internet, people use this as an attempt to just lay off. It's easy to do. It's nice, it's comfortable. You want to do it. It's just like you could kind of fall asleep doing it. It's kind of like reading before you go to bed. You're not really doing it for the fun. You're just doing it to relax your body and just sleep, right? So, and a few warnings for those. As I mentioned, willpower is a really bad thing. Do not lead them. Do not tell them that willpower is a solution. They will fail, and if they do fail, they most likely will not listen to anything you say. Like, can't believe you made me do that. I thought this would work. What are you talking about, right? And that's why I made these previous points, because I want you to educate them about this. You want them to educate themselves about this, right? So once you get to the point where they feel like they believe that, okay, I want to get out TikTok, but I just don't know what to do. You want to make them believe, and you want to make them believe that they could quit, right? You want them to get off TikTok, get them to a point where they maybe believe that they could quit TikTok, and if they don't, send them this video. Once you get them to those points, send the video. Please, I can't implore this enough. I'm repeating myself just in the past 30 seconds. Send the video to them. To those, a friend, family member, whoever it is. Please do that, because it not only helps the growth of my channel, but I genuinely want to help people with this. I don't want to spread any misinformation about this. I want people just to be helped. Now, I'm going to repeat, do not try to argue. Do not argue about it. Just, you will lose the argument. Most arguments end in you losing. The initiator is usually going to lose. Now, this is it's a sort of simple solution. I know it's kind of like, what are you talking about? And compared to everything else that I just shared, but you did most of the learning yourself, right? You learned from the videos on the internet talk about how TikTok's worse than you thought, or you were learning about this from some kind of YouTube channel. I have some podcasts in the description you could look at, some videos in the description that talk more about this. You might have learned from these people. You might have learned from like Dr. K or like Chris Williamson or something. You might have learned from them. And so you gotta understand that people learn things on their own. You can't force them to do anything, right? When you try to force people to do something, they get very defensive. You don't want that. It's very bad. So give them the freedom to learn themselves. Give them the freedom to learn about everything, to watch this video. If they have to watch it in chapters, if they have to watch it in segments, or they have to do it in audio form, whatever it is, just get them to watch this video. When you do this, you'll actually strengthen your friendship, I would argue. You're gonna do more things together, I'd hope. Like if you get your friend out of addiction, like a serious addiction like that is like a seriously good friend. You are a seriously good friend if you're doing that. Even if you're just tempting, that is like you're doing a seriously good thing. And most people that respect will have self-respect and respect for themselves will be like, man, this is a good friend. I really I wish you could be there. So being a friend like that, it's just a really positive thing. That's just for me, I swear to God. So you might be asking, okay, what if I relapse? What if I reinstall the app and start scrolling again? The key emotion that is driving you to relapse is shame, demoralization. These are I keep talking about these because it's so important that you don't feel these emotions. These are the things that keep you addicted to anything, really. You can apply this to anything, smoking, alcohol, whatever it is. And the thing about a relapse is it's, at least in terms of social media, it's really counterproductive to call it that. Like when you call it a relapse, like, oh, I failed, I relapsed, I'm doing it all again. Now it's a relapse. You said it was a relapse. You believe that you messed up. That is what you believe. The very concept of it is implying that all of your progress was literally for nothing, that you're a failure, and that this is for nothing. But the thing is that you're conscious of it now. You're not unconscious. You're not like, you know that you try to quit. You're aware that you try to quit, and so you're going to feel conscious about that. The quote-unquote relapses aren't relapses because you are fully aware of it. The relapse happens when you fail, when you actually fail to do it. You know, you you know, if you keep telling yourself things like, oh, I can never leave TikTok. I'm just my brain's so scrambled. I'm gonna have to make sure I don't reinstall for the rest of my life. I gotta be so vigilant about this. I need to get all these blockers. I need to pay for this. Like, or the thought shouldn't even come to my head. Like, dude, chill out. Just chill out. If you do this and you do things like compare yourselves to others when it comes to these addictions, you're just that's what leads to you relapsing. It's your mentality, not your whatever, not what your whatever it is. It's not your mentality. It's not willpower. There's literally nothing to do with it. It's all in your head. It's all your mentality. I know it sounds like messed up, but it's like it's a mental thing. As soon as you believe that you could get out of this, you're out of it. That's it. It's a shortcut. It's a shortcut to doing anything in your life. Also understand that this takes time. This takes months. It took me over a year before I actually mustered the strength to quit social media, and it happened. And the only reason it happened was because I hit a breaking point. If you need to, if you're really feeling like you're gonna relapse, just take a walk, listen to a segment of the video that you might not fully understand. Do it as many times as you need. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you for watching my post-TikTok survival guide, as you could call it, or whatever the title of the video is. Despite what the views tell me, despite what the algorithm says, I'm still going to keep making long-form videos that actually inform people. No one's going to stop my pursuit of these companies and addictions. And I'll definitely have to make a video on internet addiction as a whole as I finish this series and finish on all these social medias. And as I could gather feedback from these videos on hey, what's actually working, I can make an updated version getting rid of all these addictions as a whole. And I can I have a book right here, Digital Minimalism by Cal Newport. It's backwards, but really good book, and I highly recommend those who to read it because it might help them. But I don't want to plug anything. And if you made the connection that TikTok is like similar to porn addiction, then you're absolutely right. They are very similar. And in fact, I was even researching this video and I was quite scared to find how similar scrolling TikTok was to watching pornography. In fact, TikTok leads to watching pornography, but the addictions themselves are actually extremely similar. And while they're not exactly the same, obviously, one is, exploiting the fact that it's exploiting your PP, and the other is just exploiting your mind, your brain. If you get rid of this addiction, if you finally get rid of this addiction and you're like addicted to porn or something like that, try it on porn too. It will do you seriously work. It will seriously do some work, If it doesn't work, don't be ashamed about it. I'll have a video coming up on it that goes over the site easypeasymethod.com, which is just a free ebook, and it will give you all the information necessary. I'll even link it down in the description if you want to take a look at that. I'm aware that deleting TikTok is not going to solve all of your problems. With all the knowledge that I've given to you, it's possible to make it one step closer to taking back control of our lives. That's the goal of this series, really, the Guide to Inner Freedom. It's just taking back our control of us, like what we are. That is the entire point of this series, right? And I'd like to quickly acknowledge all the new viewers and subscribers that came from the Instagram video or that are coming from the YouTube algorithm. I really appreciate that, and all the support that I've received, as well as the people that have made videos going over TikTok that actually inspired me to make this Guide to Inner Freedom. Thank you. Thank you guys so much. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching this far, listening. When you wake up, get out of bed, and I'll see you next time.